Welcome everyone again. Thank you for attending MLA's AGM in our nation's capital. I'd also like to welcome those who are joining us this afternoon through our live streaming. It's a pleasure to be presenting to you from Canberra. 2018 marks our 20th year. It's the anniversary of Meat and Livestock, which was established with the passage of the Australian Meat and Livestock Industry Act and the official declaration in 1998 of MLA as the red meat industry's research, development and marketing service provider. It all began here in the nation's capital more than 2 decades ago. Ever since, MLA has held its AGM in a different location to fairly share the opportunity for all red meat and livestock producers to attend and to highlight the diverse production systems across our country. In the last 3 years, the feedback from our members has been fantastic. MLA's worked really hard to expand this program and make the AGM part of that program rather than the focus of a meeting. This is our flagship event for 2018, Red Meat. Red Meat 2018 in Canberra, the centre of the important red meat production region that encompasses the Southern Highlands, Southern Western Slopes, and I'm told it's not Monaro, it's Monero. I drove a Monaro, but it's Monero. So I got corrected about half a dozen times on that one yesterday, especially from Richard Norton, who's a Monero man. Went to Monaro High School.
You can see why I'm leaving.
So this event follows last year's very successful event in the red centre of our nation, Alice Springs. This year's event is even bigger, with an expanded 4-day program that provides an unrivalled opportunity to hear the latest insights from industry and MLA leaders, to see innovation in action, to learn more about how your levies are being invested to ensure the future prosperity of the Australian red meat and livestock industry. I'd like to personally thank all of you who've travelled from all parts of the country to Canberra to participate in these activities, and would welcome your feedback as we start planning for next year's. We did take your feedback from last year into consideration for this event. I believe we had 800 registrations over these 4 days. So that's I don't know of any listed company that gets 800 registrations for an AGM. Yesterday, MLA held its ever-popular Global Markets Forum, where our head of red meat, the head of our red meat area and experts shared their valuable insights for more than 100 Australian key international markets. This morning, we heard from the Minister for Agriculture and Water Resources, who discussed some of the priorities for our industry. The focus then turned to Transformation Seminar, in which our own Sean Starling and Michael Crawley and a panel of industry innovators and leaders demonstrated how technology and the ability to share real-time, objective information across the supply chain is challenging old conventions, opening up new, profitable opportunities. These are exciting developments that are going to revolutionise the way red meat is produced, traded and processed. Many have been on the show in the trade industry and through the trade exhibition, and more still in our digital forum, which runs over the next 2 days and includes a field trip to the nearby property Karwoola, where many of the digital solutions are now available and will be in action for you to observe. Tomorrow there'll also be 2 different producer tours taking place, one which concentrates on genetics, feed base and eating quality of our industry, and the other on provenance, marketing and meeting consumer needs. Both tours to some of these regions' leading properties include a wealth of information on how producers can not only improve their businesses, but also help drive our industry forward. Turning now to my report on MLA's work over the past year, I'd like to share some key insights from the cattle, sheep and goat markets, prepared by MLA's market information team. I'd then like to cover the business of the MLA board. Following that, MLA's Managing Director Richard Norton will report on the company's highlights for the year, as well as its financial performance. In his final report, as Managing Director of MLA, Richard will also discuss the challenges and opportunities that the red meat industry and livestock has ahead. Now to the markets. With many of the Australian red meat and livestock industry's key supply regions in the grip of drought, 2018 was a challenging year for many of MLA's producer shareholders. Seasonal conditions will always have implications for the nation's herd size, slaughter numbers, supply chain profitability, export volumes, and consumption. But it's a continuing testament to our industry's resilience that these impacts do not alter its overall progress. In 2017-18, MLA has worked exceptionally hard to support our producers' efforts by keeping Australian beef, sheep meat, and goat meat at the forefront of consumers' minds in what we believe is an increasingly competitive global market. Looking at the beef industry, the severe drought conditions across many of Eastern Australian areas in 2018 have put a hold on producers' intentions to expand their herds. The national herd size contracted as we entered 18-19, with a solid rebuild still dependent on some really good rainfall, and that is return back to an average seasonal condition. Young cattle prices have been under pressure as the poor conditions worsen throughout the year, and restocker activity remains stagnant. The finished market, however, performed reasonably well this year, with strong international demand and favourable exchange rate movements holding up prices. Australian beef exports continue to experience intense competition in many international markets, particularly from key global suppliers such as the US and Brazil. The US recently came out of a herd rebuild phase, and production is expected to reach record levels by the end of 2018. While US domestic consumption is soaking up most of that supply, their exports into Australian markets, such as Asia, have continued to grow. Despite this competition, Australian beef exports have gone from strength to strength, hitting a 20-year high in August this year. The August exports represented the largest monthly shipment this calendar year, supported by the commencement of second-round musters across Northern Australia and the ongoing drought conditions in Queensland. In the sheep meat market, production is picking up despite the drought continuing to have a significant impact on the Australian flock. Lamb production has been increasing gradually along with carcass weight in recent years. Increasing slaughter has seen that accelerate even further in 2018. Historically, mutton production has been volatile and this has continued this year, with seasonal conditions resulting in a large spike in the slaughter. Unfortunately, the increase in sheep turn-off is likely to have a negative impact on the supply and production of sheep meat in 2019. However, this increase in production is translating into growing export market, with lamb exports expected to surpass last year's record numbers. Global demand for Australian lamb remains strong, helping to drive up prices despite supply increases. This demand from overseas markets will be crucial in supporting sheep meat prices going into next year. In September 2018, the National Heavy Lamb Indicator surpassed 900 cents per kilo carcass weight, the first time it's ever exceeded that mark. It's been a record year for lamb prices, with the market still operating at a historical national high. Now moving on to the goat industry, supply is expected to come down from last year's levels. Victoria and South Australia, the nation's major goat processing states, are experiencing the largest decline year on year. Exports tended to follow the seasonal trends in 2018, with a decline in winter, although volumes were slightly lower than the 5-year average. Australia's goat meat largest export, the US, has seen the biggest decline. I'll turn now to the business of MLA board. It's definitely been a difficult year for many of our levy payers, but the MLA board continues to focus on fostering the long-term prosperity of the beef, lamb and goat meat producers. Driving industry profitability, global competitiveness, sustainability is one of our key priorities and will remain so as we move into 2019. At the same time, our ambition is to position the Australian red meat and livestock industry as a world leader, when it comes to driving innovation and building capability. That is what our red meat industry will put us ahead of the competition, and we must be meeting consumer needs, as I indicated last night, today, tomorrow and in the future. MLA's constitution and funding arrangements require that it has a skills-based board with directors who have a genuine interest in and a broad understanding of the Australian red meat and livestock industry. As well as this, directors must demonstrate business acumen, financial literacy and an understanding of an excellent corporate governance. Each of the MLA board directors has a responsibility to use their skills and experience to provide strategic direction and oversight to this organisation, and it's a task that they don't take lightly. Each of the R&D and marketing projects approved by the board in 17-18 were carefully analysed and assessed to ensure our industry receives maximum benefit from the levies. A sample of those investments is on show in the Red Meat 2018 week. This year, the board again undertook an annual skills audit in line with specific requirements arising from the skills audit. MLA Board Selection Committee sought director candidates holding expertise and experience in nutrition and strategic marketing. You will be voting on these candidates this afternoon, as well as a new grass-fed cattle producer representative to the MLA Board Selection Committee. As well as providing oversight of MLA's strategic plan from 2016 to 2020, now in its third year, the board also directs MLA's two subsidiary companies, the MLA Donor Company and the Integrity Systems Company. The Integrity Systems Company have a stand outside for those who may or may not know what it does, and Dr. Jane Weatherly would be there to help you. This year, for the first time ever, MLA utilised 99% of our available matched funding, leaving no federal government dollar for dollar research on the table. That's the first time in my life at MLA. This was a positive outcome for the industry, and especially considering that MLA's transaction levy income remains suppressed as a result of the reduced herd size. This outcome was achieved through the MLA Donor Company, surpassing the $100 million investment target set by the board for 17-18. The real benefits are the ag and food tech innovations brought to life by MDC research and development projects, and now contributing to ensuring our industry remains a leading competitor on the global stage. New investments spanning every part of the red meat and livestock value chain are already starting to underpin productivity gains in our industry. With major research collaborations including Livestock Productivity Partnership now underway, as well as more than 470 producers engaged in MDC's Producer Innovation Fast Track Pilot Program, try and remember that, in 2017-18, these gains are expected to continue in an upward trajectory. We acknowledge the support and investment of all our research partners, but our industry must pay particular acknowledgement to the continuing support of the Australian Government in the research projects we invest in every year through matching dollars. If it weren't for this unwavering support, MLA could not deliver the breadth of high quality, high value outcomes that make such a difference to our industry today. MLA's other subsidiary, Integrity Systems Company, has to continue to uphold Australian beef, lamb and goat meat's superior reputation. Each of our industry's integrity systems, including Livestock Production Assurance, National Vendor Declaration and the National Livestock Identification System, ensure that Australian producers experience the benefits of enhanced traceability, quality assurance and confidence to stand by what they sell. This year, Integrity Systems Company introduced two enhancements to MLA's online carcass feedback resource, Livestock Data Link, to improve information sharing along the red meat supply chain. The first is a lean meat yield measurement for beef producers and processors on carcasses that are MSA graded. And the second is now a new feature enabling breeders to receive carcass information on animals they've bred but haven't directly consigned to the processor. With systems like Livestock Data Link making this information accessible, producers are better equipped to meet market specifications and ultimately improve their bottom line. We know that many consumers are willing to pay more for higher levels of product assurance, and raising the bar of our integrity systems can assist Australian producers to capture these price premiums. Before I submit my report to you, I would like to recognise all of those who contribute to MLA's success in 2017-2018, starting with our levy payers, many of who are here today, watching online or working in their businesses right around Australia. You're the best red meat producers in the world, and it's our privilege to serve you. The board would also like to thank the peak industry councils, Cattle Council of Australia, Sheep Producers Australia, Australian Lot Feeders Association, and the Goat Industry Council of Australia. As always, these councils have approached their oversight of MLA's yearly performance, plans and budgets meticulously, always with our levy payers in mind, the producers they represent. Now, I can't mention having our levy payers in mind without thanking our very own Richard Norton, MLA's Managing Director for the past 4.5 years, probably feels like about 40 years. Every day that he's served, and I'm sure a lot of you have observed, Richard has championed our levy payers' interest and worked tirelessly during that time to ensure MLA delivers real, tangible value to the Australian red meat and livestock industry. It's been an honour and a privilege to work alongside Richard during his term, although most of his term has been out with levy payers, not inside with us. So his dedication and commitment to our stakeholders and the Australian red meat consumers has been critical to move MLA to a customer-centric, accountable and transparent service company, delivering outcomes that do and have made a difference. While we wish him all the best for his new role in Elders, we thank him for all he's done for this company and the industry as Managing Director of MLA. And I think we can't go without acknowledging his family, who've spent a lot of time on their own as Richard travels around the country. So to Sky and the boys, thank you. So on behalf of the board, thank you, Richard. Finally, I thank MLA's great team of staff and my colleagues on the board, including our outgoing Director, Stephen Chaw, for all their service to MLA, our levy payers and the industry. It's been a milestone year for MLA, the industry and our producers. As we look to 2019, you can be assured that MLA will continue to challenge, improve and innovate as we invest in research and development and marketing initiatives that will foster the prosperity of the Australian red meat and livestock industry into the future. Thank you for your time and listening, and I will take questions on my paper when we get to question time with your indulgence.